Hi, it's Louisa Dahl, and welcome to the Interactive Minds podcast, where I talk with passionate marketers, innovators, and digital leaders about their specific recipes for success. In today's show, I interview the co-founder of Finder.com, Fred Schebesta. In this conversation, I avoided asking him about how he got started and his journey to date, and instead we spoke about marketing, how he organises his time, Fred's view on a company vision, failing, focus, and lots more. Here's 3 things you're going to learn. 1, why and how Fred encourages mistakes. 2, the minimum skills for a modern marketer. And 3, Fred shares his company vision, which you've just got to hear. Let's get into it. Today I'm here with Fred Schebesta, who is an award-winning business leader, best known for co-founding one of the world's leading comparison websites, Finder.com. He started off his days in digital marketing and is now a serial entrepreneur, author, media commentator, active member of the startup community, and so much more. Welcome to the show, Fred.
Thank you, Louisa, for having me. It's an honor to be on such a great podcast with such great marketers.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited about what we're going to cover off today, and I have many, many questions to get through. For those of you who might not be familiar with your career history, can you give us a quick rundown on what it's involved, and I suppose particularly the companies that you've been involved in starting over the last 15 years or so?
Yeah, I started off as a terrible student, and then I founded a company in there that built websites called Freestyle Media, and then I sold that company and we started building Finder, which is the comparison service. And recently we launched a cryptocurrency brokerage called HiveX. And that's kind of where we're at today.
Awesome. And you actually, if I read correctly, have a finance background. Is that right?
I did. I managed to, as I said, graduate, which was an awesome thing. Given I was spending most of my time coding websites.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's obviously how you got into your first business by the sounds of it. Looking back across all the amazing things that you've done, what are you most proud of?
I've done a lot of things that were ideas on pieces of paper and they've turned into reality. And I think that's great. But I think I'm most proud of the people that I've brought to join me on this journey and the growth that I've helped them achieve. I think they're the people that are making Finder great, and in some small way, hopefully one day I can turn around and say, wow, these guys, they made Finder.
Awesome. And for those people who don't know a lot about Finder, I know it's a really, big business these days. Can you give us a bit of a rundown?
We believe that the world's better when it's informed, when it's making decisions. So if you have the information, you make a better call on what to apply for. Whether it's your home loan, your business insurance, your cell phone plan, your broadband, your digital bank, whatever it may be. We've been comparing now for 10 years, and we're doing this in 83 different countries. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
And we're just helping people all around the world, make those calls.
Fantastic. That's pretty amazing. So you must have a couple of hundred staff on the go as well.
I think the exact number is 310 full-time, and yeah, that's the number.
Wow. And what does your involvement in Finder day-to-day look like now?
I sit and I admire the incredible people that are in Finder, and in some small way, I hope I can bring some energy, and inspire. And I guess I talk a lot about the vision and the story and where we're going. And, I do a lot of thinking, and I speak to a lot of the leaders in Finder. And I counsel with them, and we talk about where we're going. But they're the ones leading. They're the ones driving it. And on the other side, I work in Finder Ventures. So Finder Ventures is the business that built HiveX, and we've just launched an app. So we've been working hard on that. And it's a business which I run, and sort of build things for the future of Finder.
Exciting. That sounds like a fun job.
I love it. I'm a startup guy.
And you've also got HiveX, which is your cryptocurrency exchange. Are you spending much time on that day to day as well? Like, how do you split your time?
Yeah, no, that day to day, I'm not really spending much time on that. It's really running neatly, but with the crew there. I mainly spend most of my time in ventures, or I'm talking to the leaders in Finder.
Awesome. So from ventures, let's spend a little bit of time on that, because obviously, as you said, you're working on some cool stuff, and I imagine you're evaluating opportunities to expand on or to consider for ventures. How does that process work? What does that mean for you?
I think I do a lot of looking into the future, and exploring the new things, and a lot of my time. We're doing little proof of concepts. We're trying out little technologies. We're looking at new businesses that are forming, and we're kind of understanding the market and customers, and trying to predict, not so much where the puck is today, but where the puck is going, and trying to skate Finder towards that. So things like digital banking, cryptocurrency obviously was a major thing we've been looking at. Things like decisioning engines. We find fascinating. I think that there's a lot of movement in share trading, and how people buy and invest their money for the future. I think that's really, all these places are really changing, and I think we're on sort of the cusp. And I'm very focused on that area. I guess fintech would be the umbrella. That is where I'm focused day to day.
Yeah, and as you say, I mean, I suppose that area is ripe for change and has had a lot of change as well in the last decade too. But with crypto and other opportunities, I think that's only growing in that space. You mentioned you're launching an app. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this app, it's just gone out onto the stores, so I'm super excited about that. And it's something we've been working on for about a year and a half. It's an incredible thing. You connect your bank account up, and we basically tell you where you can save money. So we automatically help you compare. Awesome. And I think that's the future, right? I think we should get some incredible robots to help us with our life, because we've got so many decisions to make, and this is what this app is beginning to do. And I'm really proud. The crew here that have made this have worked tirelessly to do it. We're obviously always improving it as well, so we appreciate the feedback.
Awesome.
But hopefully, people will save a lot of money from it.
So this is just launched. I know on your website at the moment you have a wait list for this. From a marketing and growth perspective, can you tell us how you're kind of releasing this app and what the plan is there?
Yeah, so we have secret codes, and I'm happy to only for you, Louisa, because you're so nice and you're incredible. I'll share it with your crew as well. If you type in Fred Friends, that's there's a little code there. Everyone can be my friend.
Great.
You can get into this. That'll actually allow you in, right? You can't get in without a code right now into the app.
Awesome.
And sort of, there's an interesting, marketing principle around this is, we don't want everyone to come and join this. There is a big wait list right now, but this app is curated. It's for people who are interested in their finance and they want something incredible. It's free as well, which makes it a big deal. But it's a lot like, the sort of theory around is a lot like a club, right? Yeah. Like if you go to a dance club and you see there's a massive queue out the front, you're kind of interested. But then when you go inside, actually some places are really full and some places aren't, but usually it starts with a queue. So that's really the principle around this, is that we've built something incredible. We're not just going to give it away. It's either you're going to have to wait for it, or you're going to have to, listen to a great podcast like this and get a code, or get referred by your friend to get the code. It's about creating that scarcity, and I think that's the way we want to start. It's also from our side to give you, from an operational perspective, like not everything's as smooth, and we have challenges and bumps and stuff, but we've been building this app so quickly and smoothing it out, making better and incrementally improving it. And now, it gives us a bit more time. Yeah. So the marketers get to launch earlier.
Yeah.
But the developers gets a bit more time to keep rolling out and improving it.
That's right. Keep everyone happy.
That's right.
I like it. Now, I have heard when I was doing a bit of research for our conversation today that you're a big believer of the fail fast mentality and being able to try things, and if they don't work, kind of move on. Can you talk us through your mindset around that and how that impacts your kind of work that you're doing?
Yeah. So, Louisa, I believe that if something is not on the internet, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
And that's just a reality in
Yep.
today. And there's a value. So Finder has 5 values, and the third value of Finder is go live. And go live means we have a bias to putting things live on the internet. We truly believe if it's on the internet, then it exists.
Yep.
And if it's code sitting on your computer, who cares? If it's code, a document you've written, a blog post or a podcast that's sitting on your computer, it's not on the internet, it doesn't exist.
Mm.
And that bias creates a lot of freedom for our crew. It gives them the energy they need to push things live, to get things out on the internet, to feel empowered. And this started from the very first day. I remember I was literally changing the homepage of Finder. It was called Credit Card Finder back then in 2009.
Yep.
Every day I would just change the homepage. Like who does that? But every day I had this principle is like, have we done one thing to move forward and improve to get to our goal? Just one thing. As long as we've done something, if we've done 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, that's great. But as long as we're moving forward and we've done something, then I think we're actually moving forward as an enterprise. And if you do that every day, you've done 365 things, right, to get to your goal.
Yep.
And it needs to be finished, right? It needs to be live on the internet. That's the rule.
Mm.
So in Hack Days, there's actually a Founders Award in Finder, and it's called the Go Live Award. And if you've done a Hack Day and you've put it live on the internet, then you are eligible to compete for that award. But otherwise, if it's not live, then you don't get to go be part of that award.
Yeah, I love it. And what if it doesn't work? What if it fails?
Well, I say to my crew all the time, I say, look, if we haven't made enough mistakes or enough failures, we're not trying hard enough.
Yep.
I've requested, I've requested my head of PR, she came to me, I said, Michelle, I haven't seen enough mistakes.
Nice.
We're not making enough mistakes. I want to see you make more errors. Go bigger. Go for something, that's scary. Be uncomfortable. Push it. And, and that gives people the freedom that it's okay to fail. It's okay. I remember we walked in the very first day. I rented an Airbnb in Chinatown in New York City when we started August 2016. We're sitting in this tiny little Airbnb in the middle of Chinatown. Fish are on the street. It stinks. It's just a crazy place. We walked in the first day one, and I said, look, before we start, I just want to say something. It's okay to make mistakes. In fact, I want everyone to go and make a lot of mistakes right now because we want to go and learn, and we want to know and understand what it is we're doing will help. And that's the premise which we started, and it just liberated everyone to go and try things and innovate and move forward.
Did you always have this mindset, or do you find that it's easier to be more open to failing once you're already successful?
I don't think you try and fail. Like, that's not the thing. It's that whether or not your goal is big enough and you're out of your comfort zone. So that's really, I always have kept myself uncomfortable. I'd say I'm every moment in life, I'm 70% comfortable, 30% uncomfortable. And then sometimes it gets like, the other way around. You're like 60% uncomfortable and 40%. And I'm like, whoa, we're going a bit far now, probably biting off more than we can chew. Let's dial this back a bit and get a bit more, get a little bit more comfortable, but still remain uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something I've done my entire life, but I think it's something which I've done a lot of emotional training around to understand when you're growing and when you're not.
Yep.
So it's something which I think might have been in there, but I don't know whether, there were times when I've sort of really backed away from that, and you need those rest moments.
Yeah. Definitely.
And it's just intense if you're always growing. you're making mistakes, you're taking it, it's intense. But I think when it comes down to it, if you're not uncomfortable for, a portion of your life constantly, I just think you're either growing or you die.
So when you tell your team to make more errors and you tell them to kind of push it harder, like that conversation you mentioned, how do you suggest they do that if they're naturally uncomfortable, I suppose, in taking those risks? Is there anything you recommend?
I tell them I believe in them. I instill my absolute belief and faith in their success because they've been chosen. They are committed to success. People want to succeed. They want to. And I believe in them. I believe in my crew. That's the reason why they're here.
Yes.
And I reassure them of that. I said, look, like win or lose, I prefer to win. But, I'm committed to your success and I believe in you and you'll figure out a way to go and to achieve this.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. What about your own examples of when you might have tried something and failed? Is there anything you can tell us where you were able to learn something or have a good experience as part of that?
Tried something and failed. Wow. I've tried so many things and failed so many times. But, every time, Frank, he's my business partner for 17 years. That's longer than I was married, by the way.
Yeah.
He said, he goes, I love mistakes, and I love failures because now we know what to do to fix it. And I think I'm the guy that sort of turns over the rocks and tries lots of things. And then, I sort of take failure as, well, that was awesome. Okay, well, now we know that thing. And then let's pivot and change and adapt. And then we tend to win.
Yeah.
But the way in which I try and keep that and manage that and deal with that is to keep the experiment small. Every idea, no matter what, you can always boil it down to a very small and simple iteration. And I think if you just go and execute that, you will learn. You'll probably fail or not, but you will learn what's a small scale version of it. And then you can go and scale it. Now, scaling things doesn't necessarily always happen in a linear fashion. So there's other challenges with that. But at least this way you're protecting your downside risk.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess that's where the fail fast term comes from, isn't it? Being able to kind of try it, but stay on it and identify it quickly if it's not working so you can iterate and move on.
Yeah, I think it's fail fast, but in a small way.
Yeah, that's right. Excellent. Now, since you've been in business, and as I mentioned, you started off with a marketing agency back in early 2000s, if I understand. Since then, I'm sure you've seen massive change from marketing. And I guess I'm interested in two things. I'm interested in, one, how much you involved in the marketing now and how hard has it been to stay off those tools or out of the strategy perhaps in this instance. And secondly, what kind of changes are you seeing and what do you think that means for marketers?
I think the economy of attention is getting ruthlessly competitive. It's so hard to build a brand these days. So hard. In the past, you could just buy a whole lot of TV ads, and then you've got a brand.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I think you're looking at a market where you need to figure out not only what your message is and your product and the customer you're serving, but then why are you relevant?
Yeah.
And if you're not relevant, you're selling life insurance, like you're not really relevant day to day. You wake up in the morning, selling life insurance, who cares? Your job is to figure out as a marketer how to become relevant, how to communicate to either someone in the right framing or establish the path so that you are the person that they want to speak to in that moment. And, this is becoming even more and more estranged, right, with so many different products and substitutes as to why you should even be in the game.
Yeah.
And so, coming back, I think marketers today need to understand that and know their place and then really focus on that channel, focus on that place, and then start to adapt and improve other areas. Just choose one to begin with and become great at it. A lot of marketers just take on so many different things and they spray their bullets in so many different places.
Yeah.
That it makes it very challenging to in this market to compete, right? Like all the tacticians and the operators and the people on the keys these days they're really good. I used to get away with writing, really nasty designed ads, and that would work. But now on the internet, the bar is so much higher.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, and so I love it, but at the same time, wow, what a game you got to play. So as a marketer, I think the minimum these days is you need to know in some way, shape, or form how to code or something about code. You need to know something about design or be able to design in some way. And I think you need to know something about copywriting, and headlines and those kind of things. Or if you can write it or you can't, but at least you know and understand the principles. Those three things now are a minimum to play the game in my books.
Yep. I agree. And as you said, I'm 100% behind what you said in terms of it's about focus and trying not to do everything, because I think there's this kind of FOMO of if I don't do it, what's that going to mean? Or I don't want to be left behind. But at the same time, I think everyone is better off focusing down, getting really good at something, and then expanding and applying some of that to other channels or principles as well.
100%. You're exactly right. I think I started off as an SEO marketer, really, right? Like I wrote content and I did it. That's sort of where I began.
Yep.
And then we sort of mastered paid search marketing, and then I really focused a lot on PR and those kind of channels. And then I guess after that I was kind of done because we were just hiring people who had already mastered those other skills, so that I never got a chance to do the other bits.
Yeah. And day to day now, are you involved in any of the marketing decisions or kind of idea generation, that kind of stuff?
I think there's something which needs to go, like from a marketing perspective, that needs to still be with a founder or someone, at that level, is brand.
Yeah.
What is your brand and what's your positioning? Because that connects directly to the strategy of the company, really.
Definitely. Yep.
And then, so I still love reading ads that we write. I love it. I can't resist. It's just it's almost a hobby that I would love to see the ads.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I will give feedback, to relevant people or channels. But otherwise, there are just great marketers here that are probably better than me these days.
How big is your marketing team?
Well, everyone's in marketing. So, and they all know that. That's, Finder was born out of marketing.
Yeah.
We've always seen ourselves very much as an extension of our partners that we're bringing customers to. So, I couldn't tell you actually. It'd be maybe at least 50%.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm sure in your early days you used your SEO and copy knowledge a lot to launch and grow Finder. Now, what does that mix look like? What are the key kind of channels and areas that the business is using to grow?
So I think we're really trying to master video. I think it's a very, very challenging space. I think the podcast is now a big deal. We haven't figured out how to get, we've got a little bit going on in streaming, but not in a massive way. I think it's a massive channel. I think the radio, the television is as much as the numbers are put up there. I just don't think people are listening as much as they used to.
Surely everyone knows the Finder jingle now.
Well, in Australia they do. In the US, the UK, which I just came back from, or Toronto, in Canada, they don't.
No.
But, I think that's my old school talking there, Louisa. That's my old school.
Yeah.
I'm an old school. I got taught marketing, not in university, but in an agency, a direct marketing agency. The old school stuff. I'm a product of that. So jingles to me were like, that's where it's at. That's an obvious extension of our awareness and attention and brand.
Yep.
But I think some of those things and what the modern jingles are and what the modern broadcast mediums are really changing. And I challenge, and I think I would love to understand this. This is the area I'm fascinated by. Can you build a brand purely through digital? Can you truly build a brand or not? And I think outdoors on the rise, right? I've got this theory that outdoor is a growth industry because more people are catching Ubers. So, they get out and they're not driving. So they're looking outside the window. And so people look outside. And it's also people are transporting more.
Yep.
And also everyone has a camera now. So they take a photo of things. They go to places to take the photo. That's what people do these days, right? They go to places to take a photo. That's what they're doing.
Yep.
And so because they're moving around outdoors all the time, that's why I think outdoor is an undervalued medium right now.
Yeah, I like that. I think I still remember, that moment where you started seeing online brands advertising outdoor. It's pretty common now. We see, heaps of Apple camera ads on outdoor all the time, for example, or Amazon ads. But yeah, that's an interesting question. Can you build a brand through digital only? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people trying.
Yeah, I think, it's probably in Facebook groups and those kind of things. But, the thing is, it's really interesting. I think humans have this thing where, and I don't know what it is, no matter, I've had video calls with people and then when you go and meet them in person, it just changes. I think it's the same thing. It's like when you meet the brand in person as a human, something changes.
For the better or for the worse?
Oh, depending on what your brand's, the experience that customer's having.
Yep.
I think no matter what, as long as if someone sees someone in person, I think it improves.
Yeah.
But I think there's this undervalue again right now, this opportunity that exists with human to human contact. I think events are super premium, high leverage activities.
Yeah.
That are very hard to get people to because people they just want to watch the stream or they want to stay at home and they just want to watch it through their phone. But actually going and meeting people, and if you can get people to command enough of attention to you with that, I think that's where there's a massive amount of impact that can be made. And I think, again, it's a growth area that's undervalued.
Yeah. Look, as I mentioned before, we run plenty of events, so we can see a lot of benefit in getting people in the room. And I'm a big advocate for getting marketers together to collaborate and discuss and share face to face. I think that's where the real value can be in terms of our learning and growth. So yeah, I'm totally on the same page there. Now, speaking of learning and growth, one of the things we do, as I mentioned, was to, bring marketers together and help them to stay up to date and keep their knowledge fresh. So I'm curious how you approach this for yourself. You obviously are working in kind of an innovative area as well. How do you stay up to date? What are your kind of go-to channels and sources that you look to?
It's interesting you say being up to date. Like there are areas where I am out of date. So I only just watched Breaking Bad.
So Netflix, you're out of date.
I am I love it because I get to watch all the shows that everyone's already seen and I'm like watching them from the first time. Unfortunately, there's no one else to speak to them about, and share that experience with. But for me, they're brand new. I'm like, wow, this thing is really good. And everyone's like, yeah, we saw that 10 years ago or wherever it was.
Cool.
So there are areas where I'm very out of date. But that's because I'm very up to date with other areas. Yeah. And I think the first thing to becoming up to date is to really focus and know what you want to be up to date on. Because there's so many conferences you can go to and so many podcasts and so many things in newsletters, all these things you could read. At its core, I go to events. I listen to experts. I go and meet a lot of people. I just meet people that I'm interested in and I'm interested to learn more about. I also do a lot of reading, which is unusual, and really hard these days to do. Reading a book is really hard, but there's actually these little gold mines called books that have written a lot of the answers to your problems.
Yeah.
But it's just really hard to command your attention and focus for that period of time.
Have you got any books that you are reading at the moment or that you've read recently that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I'm reading the new... there's a few. I like the $1 Trillion Coach. I'm a big fan of Bill Campbell. So that's about teams. The other one I'm interested in what's his name? Ben Horowitz wrote a new book called "What You Do Is Who You Are." So it's all about culture. Now, culture doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have success in the company, but it does help. And I think that a lot of this book is about that, and it's something which is, there aren't many definitive books on culture. It's a really hard topic, but it is something that I think that a lot of businesses might struggle with, to be honest. And I think it's something which I love Ben Horowitz. I think he's just, and the reason why I love Ben Horowitz, so let me give you context, is because this is important. I love Andy Grove. Unfortunately, he's passed away. But Andy Grove was a man I wish I went and met. Andy Grove was the third employee of Intel, and he wrote a book called, what was his books? High Output Management. That's right.
Okay.
And High Output Management is all about how to manage a company. Right? It's a great book. Every business owner should read it. But he drove Intel from a 3-person company to a 10,000 person, 20,000 person company. Right?
Yeah. Great.
And there are people. That's the kind of person I study. That's the kind of person that I look after, and then I see what those people are interested in, and then I get interested in those topics as well.
Cool.
And so, Ben Horowitz obviously was very interested in management and things that are in the front end and things which are super new. And I read his blogs and so I guess I follow people to some extent that I admire.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where I get a lot of my information from.
Fantastic. And there's a lot of support structures in place for entrepreneurs as well, like business coaches and mastermind groups and things like that. Have you pursued those types of options over the years?
No, I have not. I went to like a few of these events, but I've never, I don't know, there's something about it that, and maybe it's on me, I just don't feel that I would, I don't know what it is. I just don't feel, I don't know. I'm not sure why. I just never got into that.
Yeah.
I find it a bit claustrophobic maybe. And I kind of feel I'm on my journey and, but never, I don't know, just never been my thing. I have one of my friends I always catch up with from a mastermind perspective, but
cool.
Most of the time, and a lot of those ideas they're great. I meet with a lot of very successful people as well, where I can, or, I don't know. I just, something about, I've got a specific problem normally that I need to get done or deal with, and maybe I could join a group and that could be a way to do that, but it's just never been my go-to.
I guess you've always had a co-founder as well who you obviously work very well with. So I think in those instances, sometimes you can, bounce things around a little bit easier than perhaps someone who doesn't have that support system that already exists.
I agree.
Yeah, awesome. Now, we were talking just before we jumped on this call, we were talking about busy days and schedules. And we also like to talk a bit at Interactive Minds around focus and priorities and making sure that we're managing our time. There's obviously loads of different ways to do this. So I'd love to hear how you try and manage your tasks, your time, your calendar, your inbox, any of those elements that you feel maybe you might be doing in an interesting way or something that someone might be able to learn from.
I switch off pretty much all my notifications. My phone's on silent, doesn't vibrate.
Yeah.
I left Facebook in 2012. I just didn't think it was a good thing. I'm ruthless with time. And notifications, and I'll actively go through and switch off all, I'll audit my phone, and I'll just remove things that I think are a distraction.
Yeah. So easy to pile stuff up, isn't it, on the phone and not really even need it?
I will also not turn up to meetings because I'll just say, I just think I can contribute to this. I think, it's not defined enough, or I think we should cancel this meeting. So I actually first ask the question about any meeting, whether or not we need to actually have it. or I'll just walk into it. If we have assembled a meeting, I normally just get straight to the point, make a decision, and then we leave after 5 minutes.
Yep. Yeah.
Because that's a great meeting, a decision.
Yeah.
People want decisions. Everyone wants action.
Definitely.
And it may not be like every single time the best one, but it's at least there is a movement, and that's what it inspires people.
Yeah. Progress.
I only wear black. Every single thing. You open I was just traveling for 5 weeks in Sri Lanka and Austria and London and Poland, and I was, I have you open my suitcase and the entire thing is black.
Is that so that it limits decisions for you?
I don't spend time thinking about what I'm going to wear.
Yep. Yeah, keep it easy.
When I dress up to go to a special event, I'll have a little thing, and there's little tweaks I can make. So I wear black and gold. Mm-hmm. Gold is my feature other color. Other than that, I just wear black every single day.
Awesome.
So if I need to buy something, a piece of clothing, just buy it black.
Yeah.
If you and this is, people are starting to catch on to this, and so that's what they know that. I think the time management as well is the highest level of time management. The most effective version of it is routine, where you establish non-negotiable things that you go and do, and you organize and orchestrate yourself into that rhythm on a regular basis. And I fall out of routines, and but I'm very focused on getting back into them. And I think that's the highest form of time management.
What's one of your non-negotiables?
Well, I have I pick up my girls and I take them to swimming every Tuesday.
Yep.
Not negotiable.
Yep.
I drop my girls at school. Not negotiable.
Mm.
I have my personal trainer. I did training this morning. It was fantastic. Not negotiable. Like, that's just, I prepaid, I'm there, I'm on,
yep.
I'm doing that. That's not negotiable, and everyone knows that. And there's I have another couple of rituals with people inside the company that are not negotiable. With my, co-founder Frank, him and I have a ritual lunch every month. Awesome. Not negotiable.
Yep. Great.
There are other things as well. I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, perfect. You mentioned before that you are big on having a vision. So I guess to kind of draw this interview to a bit of a conclusion, I'd like to hear about your vision, how you set a vision, and your thoughts, I guess, around this.
Do you mean my vision of Finder, or my vision, or how to create one?
Well, yeah, a bit of both, really. So what does a vision mean to you? Why are you passionate about it? And if you can share any of your vision or where you see things going ahead.
I think that a vision is the job of a CEO. It's creating and manifesting a picture and words that represent the future of where we're all going. Because humans at its core want to know that. They want to know we're building up to something, we're going somewhere. And it's that job of creating that vision and establishing that and describing that, that's the job of the leader. That is what makes a great leader. And if you haven't got a vision, that's okay, but I suggest you get one, because it's not today. It's going to define where you go. Not today, not tomorrow, not in like a year's time, but in 3 years' time, that's where you will be.
Very true.
And it's, great leaders have always done this. They manifest a vision. They think about the future. They plan out, and it's connected very much to strategy. Strategy and vision are very connected to me. I think vision comes first, and then you figure out a strategy of how to get there.
Yeah,
but and that's kind of the next step to some extent. Well, I think it's more like vision, then a mission, then a strategy. Then you have a brand and positioning. Those are the 4 tenets that must be solved in any company, not negotiable.
Yeah.
But that vision of the future takes what I call, and I consider myself a bit of a time traveler, because I travel forward in time and understand and experience what the world will be like, and then I translate that back to today and communicate where we need to go in order to be the best at that future world. And I don't necessarily think I'm the best at coming up with that idea. I'm better actually just describing that world. And then there are other crew here that are much smarter than me that know how to, formulate that. And it's not so much you need to know how to solve that. It's just that you need to be able to describe very carefully and detailed what is the future going to look like.
Yeah.
So in Finder, we see ourselves and our vision is to better all the world's decisions.
Nice.
And so there are three key parts to that, right? Better. So the person is in a better situation than they were before. The world's in a better situation. Our partners are in a better situation. And then it's all the world's decisions. So it's not just Australia. We decided we're not just an Australian company. We're going to go and actually help everyone around the world do this. And then decisions is really the key focus. We're obsessed about decisions at Finder. And that obsession is what really, creates that urgency and that meaning of why. Why are we doing this? Well, we're actually, people's decisions in their life fundamentally affect who they are. That's all you have. You have choices every day to make. And those decisions that you make essentially determine the rest of your life. Everything is a choice as well. And no matter what, you've chosen to do something regardless of anything you believe. You always have the choice.
Definitely. And
that choice, we want to help people make better choices so that they, in some small way, they can save themselves an extra $10 a month, and they avoided some fee and all of this, and then they got themselves a loan to go and make that wedding dress, and this single mom gets to build her business out in, and just grow it and get that sewing machine that she needed, so that eventually at the end of the year, when it comes to Christmas, she gets to buy her 6-year-old son that bike that he always wanted, and he got, and that just brings him so much joy, and he goes on to be, an explorer, and just, it really helps. That's what we do day in, day out. And I hope the world in some small way becomes a better place because of that.
Wow, that was amazing. I don't have anything else to say now. That's it. That was great. I love how you take it not just to the initial outcome, but about, 10 layers below that.
Well, Louisa, we're working hard, and in some small way, I hope every effort that we've done here, when we look back, will make the world, a little bit better.
I'm sure it will. I think if you've got visions like that, you are definitely heading in the right direction. I want to thank you so much for being part of this interview today, Fred. It's been a real pleasure to have you on the show and to hear about some of your ways of thinking and working. So thank you so much for being involved.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for listening, guys. Subscribe. This is where it's at. Marketers, you gotta mix with eagles if you want to fly and soar.
Definitely, and we will include links to all the things we talked about in the show notes. So if you want to refer to anything, do check them out. Thank you again, Fred.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, please remember to subscribe. My recommended action from today's show is to think about how you can make more mistakes. Please join me in the Interactive Minds Facebook group, where hundreds of marketers have discussions, answer questions, and I share the latest news I'm seeing in the industry. You can access today's show notes at interactiveminds.com/podcast. See you next week.